Hello and welcome to Crime Time UK. Today we're going to discuss the case of serial killer Jordan Monaghan. Now unfortunately there isn't much news coverage of this case, and personally I think there should be an awful lot more. It's a very difficult case because there's not much known about it. So this case starts on December the 31st, 2012. At the time, Jordan was 24 years old and lived in Blackburn with his girlfriend Laura and his two children, Logan, who was 21 months, and his daughter Ruby, who was 24 days old. On that fateful night on New Year's Eve, just after midnight, Laura decided to go to bed just after 12 o'clock. Jordan said he would stay up until 2 a.m. to give Ruby her 2 a.m. feed. When Jordan was alone with his daughter Ruby, who was in her Moses basket, Jordan smothered his daughter, putting his hand over her mouth and pinching her nose until she'd stop breathing, only hours after she was discharged from the hospital. An ambulance was called, but unfortunately it was too late for Ruby. At the time, there was a police investigation, but it couldn't be proven how Ruby had died, and so Jordan got away with it. The following months after Ruby's death, Jordan and Laura would constantly argue because Jordan was always gambling. It came to a head in August in 2013 when Laura said to Jordan she didn't want to be with him anymore because he admitted that he owed thousands in gambling debts. The following day, Jordan decided to take his 21-month-old son Logan in his buggy to a trip to Waves Water Park in Blackburn. When Jordan and Logan reached the water park, Jordan paid the entry fee to get into the water park. He then proceeded to go into a cubicle where him and Logan spent 27 minutes in there. Now before they got into the cubicle, you could see that Logan was still alive because he was still moving around in his buggy where you could see from the cameras. 27 minutes later, when Jordan was walking out with the buggy, you couldn't see Logan because there was a rain cover over the buggy. Once Jordan had left Waves Water Park, he went straight home and he pushed the buggy against the wall in a corner. As time went on, Jordan asked Laura many times to check on Logan to make sure he was okay. And when Laura did check on Logan, it was only then that she realised that he was dead. Unfortunately for Laura, she did not realise that this monster had killed both their children. After a police inquest, they found that Ruby had a chest infection and died of natural causes, but they couldn't find out how Logan had died. Now we fast forward to January 2018. Jordan is arrested by the police for the attempted murder of a 4-month-old child that cannot be named for legal reasons. At this point, he is in a new relationship with 23-year-old Evies Adams. Police become so worried about Evie's welfare that they take her to a place of safety. But manipulative Jordan ignores their orders and continues to see Evie. When the pair were stopped in a car by the police, he claimed that it was just some bird that he had just met. 10 months later, in October 2019, Evie, Jordan's partner, dies of an overdose. Despite now being the suspect of the murderer of both his children and Evie, the police bail him again. And the investigation makes little progress. Between October 2019 and January 2020, police continue their investigation. Detectives, who had earlier warned Evie through a court order to steer clear of Monaghan, make a breakthrough. They discover in the toxicology report that Evie had a cocktail of tramadol and diazepam in her system. It was revealed that the defendant illegally bought strong prescription drugs on the black market via WhatsApp and other contacts. Police, meanwhile, call on 12 of the country's leading experts in cardiology, genetics, neurology, and pediatrics to try and get to the bottom of what happened to the babies. In January 2021, Jordan Monaghan is rearrested and charged with all 3 murders.
Good afternoon, I'm DCI Pauline Stables of Lancashire Constabulary. First and foremost, my thoughts are with the family and loved ones of Ruby, Logan and Evie. Nothing will bring them back, but I hope today's conviction and sentence gives them some comfort. They've endured this hugely difficult trial with the utmost dignity, despite attempts by Jordan Monaghan to smear their characters. Jordan Monaghan is a ruthless, cold-blooded, manipulative killer who killed his victims covertly and went to great lengths to cover up what he did. It was only after extensive, detailed investigations were we able to establish that those deaths were actually premeditated murder.
It's taken over 2 years to get this case to court, and it's taken Laura and her family a lot longer. Our thoughts are with Laura Gray and her family, as we know what they've been going through. Despite the conviction, it will not bring our daughter Evie back or ease the pain of her not being with us.
I want to give you an insight into my children. Logan was my funny, very, very cheeky little boy. I had to have eyes everywhere. He once got in the freezer and he came out sucking a sausage. I'll never forget that day. To say he was only small, he was fiercely independent, but of course he loved a cuddle from his mummy. He was a super little dancer and loved to bop his way around the room to Troublemaker by Ollie Murs. Ruby. With Ruby, I only had her a very short time, only a short 24 days. 24 days is not long enough for a newborn to smile, see clearly or develop their own little character. She didn't get the chance to see me clearly, and I didn't get the opportunity to save her gorgeous first smile that I know she would have had. I've lost out on her first giggle, her first word, and the first steps that she would have taken. Ruby, like Logan, however, did also love a cuddle from a mummy. I only have one photograph of Ruby and I, and this will never be enough.
In December 2021, Jordan was found guilty of all 3 murders and twice for attempted murder and sentenced to 40 years in prison. He will not be eligible for parole until 2061, when he'll be in his 70s.